Every great city has its tales, and I've been documenting their stories and people for over 20 years. This is Tales of a City. Well, folks, welcome for the first time to the podcast version of Tales of a City. It's been an extraordinary experience for 13 seasons on community television to produce Tales of a City, and I have had the opportunity to walk with kings and murderers. I've also met some extraordinary people who could be classed as angels, people on earth that have done things that change people's lives. And in this first episode, I asked my good friend and colleague Henry Keogh to accompany me to have a chat with Geraldine Cox, who was the founder of the Sunrise Cambodia Orphanage. And boy, does she have a story to tell. Now, you're the founder of Sunrise Cambodia, which started out as an orphanage.
Yes, started out, well, it's still an orphanage.
Yeah.
I was working for King Sihanouk's son, Prince Norodom Ranariddh, in Cambodia in 1994, and on the weekends I was looking after his wife's kids in the Royal Orphanage.
Oh, right.
So that was just my volunteer working thing, massaging my maternal instincts because I could never have kids. And then there was a violent bloody coup in 97, and Hun Sen, the military leader, overthrew the royal family, and they all fled and left me holding the bloody babies, right?
I can imagine.
So it wasn't my plan, but when it happened, it was just so clear to me that this was my fate.
Right.
Your
calling.
Yeah. Well, I'm not religious. Nobody calls me. But
was it a frightening place at the time?
Oh God, yes. Well, I was there in the 70s during the war, and it was pretty terrible then. But during the coup in 97, there were tanks and bodies and people wheeling around their dead babies in wheelbarrows. It was just horrific. And I couldn't get out to the orphanage because it was, the streets were full of, blood and fighting and tanks.
And martial law.
Yeah. And it was 2 or 3 days before I could get out to the kids. And the Australian Embassy evacuation bus came by my apartment to take me to the airport, and I said, not going. And they said, get on the bus, you silly bitch. And I said, I can't go. And then when I did get out to see the kids, if you can have an orgasm of the mind, I had it. I drove out there, and when the kids, I have all this signal whenever I drive in the gates, I go with my car.
Yep.
And the kids came from the laundry, from the dining room, from the pond, from everywhere saying,
What did they tell them?
Mum stayed, she didn't go, she loves us, she's here, look, she's here. And they lifted me out of the car. I don't even remember my feet touching the ground. They took me into the dining room. It was just orgasmic,
Well, they would have been so used to abandoning them.
That's right. They couldn't believe that someone loved them enough to stay there for them.
How many kids were there at that time?
There were 60 there.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that's when, because I didn't have a job anymore, right? So I lived with the kids out there, and it was pretty rough. I mean, I was sleeping on a mat on the floor, no fans, no air conditioning, shitting in a hole in the ground.
How did you survive? What did you do for food?
We had chickens and we had rice. The soldiers came and after a while and stole all our chickens and our rice. And I had some money from Princess Marie, from the prince's wife, that I had access to, but it wasn't a lot, no. And the most frightening day of my life, what Princess Marie didn't tell me was that when she put the kids at the orphanage, she didn't tell me she took military land. And the kids were actually on military land, but I didn't know. And one day, 2 tanks came out with 6 soldiers on it, with B-40 rockets and AK-47s, pointing them at the kids, saying, go, you're on our land. And the kids were wetting themselves with fear. And I was there, and when I'm really angry, my limited Khmer, becomes very good. And I was saying to the soldiers, some of them are only like 21, 22 years old, it's kids.
Yeah.
And I was saying, does your mother know what you're doing here today?
Yeah.
And it was like going right over their heads. And then one of them, the oldest one, stopped and he looked me up and down and up and down. And he put his gun down and he nudged the soldier next to him and whispered to him. And that soldier looked at me up and down and up and down, put his gun down and whispered to the next one until in the end all 5 or 6 of them put their guns down. They just went on the tank and left.
Wow.
Because they were saying, get off, you're on our land.
Yep.
Anyway, we all went into the dormitory and we were laughing and crying and everything. And then the older boys started to really laugh and I said, what's so funny? We all nearly got killed there.
And they knew what was being said.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, Mum, your hair saved us. And I said, what are you talking about? And they said, well, in Cambodia, there's a very famous woman and she's a witch. And wives go to them when their husbands are unfaithful. And to punish them, they turn their husbands' penises to the size of a pea.
Right.
So they reckon the soldiers, no one's got hair my colour.
Curse.
No one's got hair my colour in Cambodia.
Yeah. No.
So they reckon the soldiers thought, not taking any chances.
Exactly.
So my hair is dead white. And I colour my hair every 2 weeks. It's my security blanket.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Talisman now, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't change it now even if I wanted to. But then, because during the coup, when the actual street fighting was over, you know, when you have a coup,
Yeah.
every journalist in the world is there. It was like shoulder deep in journalists, and I was getting the journalists to come out and cover the side story of the coup. That, you know, orphanages was being, you know, attacked and everything.
All the collateral damage.
Yeah, and during these interviews, like with CNN and you know, NB, all the big TV studios, I was saying, this is what Hun Sen's doing. He's nothing but a murderer and a thug, and he's no better than Pol Pot.
Yeah.
This is what he's doing.
Not that it's been quite risky.
Well, I didn't realise at the end. I didn't realise at the end how dangerous it was to be saying those things about him. And then when I realised I was losing the orphanage, he was the only one I could go to. And I sent begging letters through influential friends, and I had a TV camera crew there from Channel 9. And I begged to see Hun Sen, and he saw me as a bit of a PR exercise.
Yeah.
So he agreed to see me.
Seeing his image.
Yeah. So I took the kids with me and they did Khmer music and dance for him. And I was a bit scared because I knew that he knew we would have had a report on what he'd been saying about him, because I was a royalist. Okay? I thought, oh well, we'll see how it goes. And after the kids did their dancing and that with them, and he was interested. You know, I can tell when people are putting on a show and when they're not. And he really was touched at the kids dancing. And then when the kids finished dancing, he said, "We'll go now for a private talk with my advisors." And I thought, and we went into a room, and I'd already thought long and hard about what I would have to do to make him, to win him over. Because I was the enemy.
Yes, of course.
So I prostrated myself in front of him, a total prostration on the floor, and said, "I'm sorry for my comments. I didn't know the real situation." And he knew that in my culture that was totally something that people
That
wouldn't do.
submission would not be.
Yeah, no. So he knew I did it for the kids, and from then on I've had him there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And he's been a wonderful benefactor for us.
He granted you the land.
Yeah, he gave
Yeah.
us the free land title. He got King Sihanouk to give me, by royal decree, citizenship. He gave us electricity.
Did that protect you, having that citizenship,
Yes,
over and above anyone,
Yes.
any other national?
yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm seen now as a Cambodian,
Yeah.
right? And it gave us electricity. He improved the road.
That's no small feat either.
No.
Being rural.
No. I was planning to take the kids to come to do the Adelaide Festival before all this happened. And he gave us free passports, you know, airport tax and everything, T-shirts and everything. And
PR value for him.
yeah,
eventually.
yeah. This was televised by the
Yeah, of
Travel
course.
Group, right? So it's all on the documentary, Mike and Mayor House. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
seen
so,
it.
yeah.
And then he said, "Is there, you know, Madam, is there anything else Samdek can do for you? And I said, well, Samdek, yeah, there is one thing, but it's beyond your power. And he said, what? Beyond my power? What's that? And I said, I'd like a rich Cambodian husband. He said, I'll pass on that. But from then on, he's been out to the orphanage, I think 2 or 3 times. One time he came out and gave a lecture as a father to the children. And there are a lot of Cambodians that hate him, and there's a lot of international people that see him as a dictator. But the way he's treated me and the kids has been as a father. And as a human being. And when he knew I was losing the orphanage, and on that day that I had the meeting with him, he said, he got on the phone and he rang up it was a border control military barracks, and he said, it's empty, okay, you can go, we can drive out there now, right? So on that same day, we drove out to 10 hectares of land. It was snake infested and flooded and everything, but it had possibilities, right? And I rang him, he didn't come with us, his advisors came, and I rang him from the land. I was very emotional. And I said to him on the phone, this is heaven, Saniya, I mean, even heaven, Tansur, this is heaven. And I said, I'll make it even more heaven with your help. And he really had a giggle at that. You know.
Do you think he knew you were playing him to a certain extent?
He sees me as a hustler. But he's a hustler. A hustler knows a hustler.
Exactly.
Takes one to know, right?
It does, yeah. But when he eventually moved us from the military, from where we were to the military barracks, there were 60 of us in the staff, and lots of shit, you know, beds and computers and tables and chairs and furniture and everything. And it was a big, you know, we had 7 or 8 trucks of stuff.
Big exercise, yeah.
And he sent the soldiers out, and when they came out, my staff gave me a letter in Khmer, and the letter said to the soldiers, when you go out to Sunrise, don't wear your uniforms because the kids have already been frightened by you. Take a first aid kit in case there are any accidents with all the packing, and give the kids the pork buns and a Coke that you know that they like. And to me, that wasn't a leader of a country, it wasn't a dictator, it was the father wanting to look after his kids. You know, never forget.
So after 3+ years
31 years.
of you operating the charity there, you've handed the reins over to another operations manager now?
Yes, just 6 months ago actually. I'll be 80 next year, and when I got to about 75, I thought Geraldine run it and fundraising. And I just got to the stage where, well, I thought I could do it, but I got to the stage where I just couldn't do it anymore. And I found this wonderful girl, if you look her up, it's TracyShelton.com, a war correspondent. She's got 21 international journalistic awards. She's got balls. I mean, she has lived and put herself
Bigger than yours?
well, I never put myself in danger on purpose.
No.
I just found myself in danger.
I didn't intend it.
She went out and looked for it, and I've known her for 28 years, and she loves the kids.
Wow.
And she's been training under me since February.
Right.
And the kids love her, the staff love her, the dogs love her. And I was lying in bed one night and I thought, gee, Geraldine, they really love her. I said, why aren't you jealous? You should be jealous. They don't call her mum. I wouldn't be happy if they called her mum. And I thought, no, I'm not jealous. I'm just so happy that the kids have got someone they love, the staff have got someone they respect. And she's committed for it to be a lifetime position. She's not just going to be there for 5, 10 years. She said, I'm there for the end. So we built her a little house to make her feel secure and necessary.
Well, your legacy will continue on.
Yeah.
That must give you great peace of mind.
Yeah, oh, unbelievable.
How many children are there now?
We used to have 120, but COVID reduced that. We've only got 60 there, but we've got 150 kids from the poor rural rice farming area that come every day for education, but they go home at night. Then anyway, I say to people, yeah, Tracy's great. And I said, but there's one thing I really hate about her. And people just say, what is that? And I said, there's nothing I can fucking complain about. She's so perfect. I can't complain. I can't complain. Am I allowed to say that word?
Yes, you are.
Oh, okay.
Kids are real.
Yeah, you can't live in a place like Cambodia and use that word. In fact, when I wrote my book about the coup, and when bullets and that were flying around and everything in my book, I was saying, heart. And my mum said to me, oh, Geraldine, she said, did you have to use that word? And I said, well, Mum, there were bullets flying around everywhere and damn and shit and bugger just didn't do it. Yeah.
There's degrees of potty mouth,
Yes,
isn't there?
there is. Yeah.
Now, in your ongoing role now as chief fundraiser, what's it going to take to ensure the longevity of the charity?
The kids are worried because they see me getting older. I don't leap out of a car like I used to do, and I don't do stairs very gracefully. They see me getting older. I can still walk 2 kilometres a day. My general health is fine. I'm in remission from a double mastectomy, but the kids know I'm getting old. And the older kids say to me, Mum, when you die, who's going to get the money? And I said, what do you mean die? I'm not going to die. So they've gone around telling all the kids, you don't have to worry, Mum's not going to die.
I'll be here forever.
Yeah, but it's a huge goal, but I've worked out for Sunrise to run at its current pace and for me to accept more children, I need $10 million in a term deposit account.
Right.
I've got 500,000 now.
Yeah.
And so whenever I go on TV, I'm out there talking to the big hitters.
Yeah.
A $10 million is a lot of money, but if you talk to the right people...
Well, indeed. I mean,
when I tell people I'm looking for $10 million, they say, in your dreams, what, she's crazy, she's lost it, right? But if I can have $10 million in a term deposit account, Sunrise will never have to have anybody fundraise again. We'll be able to operate off the interest.
Well, one would think that major corporations or billionaires and millionaires,
I can't get to them.
That's that problem.
They've got all these gatekeepers, and I've tried every Australian sportsman.
Because it would be a tax write-off.
Movies. There's 40% back in your tax.
Yeah.
And I've tried all the Australian film stars, sports people, singers. Matt Damon gave me $10,000, but that's about the only celebrity money I've got.
Yeah.
But I know there are people out there. I mean, I've written to Gates and all those people 5 or 6 times, and I don't even get a response that I've written to them. But, I keep on thinking one day I'm going to crack it.
Well, the one thing I've heard and believe is the thing that separates those that succeed to those who don't. The ones that win are those that don't give up. Keep trying and trying and trying.
I mean, I can't tell you how many charities, Australian charities, that closed in 3 years.
Yep.
People burn out.
Yeah.
Well, what can the ordinary Australian do to help?
Well, I need as many $50 a month sponsors. That barely pays for a kid's food. $50 Australian is about 36 US, 35 US. I need probably 60 US dollars a month for them to eat really well.
Well, we'll put the details up on the screen so the folks at home, you can do your bit because all it takes...
$50, you're my rice money. As many $50 a month people I can get if you can afford 100, if you can afford 70, if you can afford 20. I've got some people giving me 5. And that's as precious to me as anything.
Yeah, indeed.
But I need the big hitters. Some of the lives of children in Cambodia, it's what gives me the courage, the energy and the determination and the balls to keep on doing what I'm doing. I'm very well known in the markets there, that I'm a big mum. And I was in the markets one day buying silk and silver to bring home to sell at fundraising events. And my silk lady said, oh, there's been a baby abandoned on a noodle stand. Perhaps you can take him to Sunrise. And I said, yeah, take me there. And there was this beautiful little 8-month-old baby, big black eyes, really healthy and fat. And I looked at him and I said, darling, I can't take you today. I'm flying tomorrow. I've got to get approval from the board. I've got to find a nanny for you. I'll be back in a week and I'll come and get you. I came back in a week and I thought, oh, go and get noodles. And I went to the market. And I found that while I was away, people had harvested his eyes and cut his eyes out for the retina to sell in the organ black market.
Oh my God.
He's a failure. I should have taken him on that day. And I went berserk. The market, I smashed plates and I was screaming and breaking glasses, and the people who ran the noodle stall, who would have arranged the they packed up and ran off, but I'll never forget Noodles. I'll never forgive myself about Noodles.
That's terribly tragic.
And before we were given this land, the Khmer Rouge was still active in the rural areas where I was, and it was not safe. So the staff packed up the kids and took them to Pagoda for protection with the monks. And they left 3 boys behind to water our plants and our fruit and our vegetables. And one day, the Khmer Rouge, 3 soldiers, were walking through the garden and they were picking all our fruit and vegetables. And one of the boys went out, 15, and he said, "Clear off, that's our stuff." And he just got the gun and just sprayed him to death. Yeah. And his brother was watching inside, and the brother couldn't do anything, but he hit. Anyway, after the soldiers left, he ran to the pagoda and bring all the kids back. And they couldn't lift him or carry him, so all the kids had to cut up an arm and a leg and a head and an arm and carry it to the pagoda for burial. So my kids had
almost
to
like
do.
sky burial.
Yeah.
Would the Khmer Rouge, would they actually respect and honour sanctuary at the pagoda or
Well,
not?
they did at that time, but they didn't during the Pol Pot time.
Right.
Yeah. And then I've got a darling girl, she's 17. She was close to her mother before she died. And she's tried to kill herself twice with Rohypnol because she didn't get anything over the counter there.
Yeah.
And we saved her both times. And I said, "Darling, why are you doing this?" And she said, "Oh, Mummy," she said, "I dream about my mother every night and my mother is telling me she wants me to come to her." And I said, "Don't go, darling." I said, "You've got a whole life ahead of you. I love you." And she said, "Yeah, you love everybody. I want someone that loves just me." And I thought, oh,
Yeah. I mean, that's the plight of the orphan, isn't
That's
it?
right.
The one thing they want.
That's right. And then I've got another boy I adore called Hoyt. He's 16. He helps me in the office. And one day he's looking really depressed. And I said, "What's the matter, darling?" And he said, tears in his eyes. And he said, "Why did my father throw me away? What did I do?" And then a really touching story, Thailand, his mother sold him into a begging ring. A lot of my kids have been trafficked and we saved them from that. She sold him into a begging ring because he's got cerebral palsy, he can't walk. So we got him and we put calipers and that on him, and a perfect mind and a beautiful child. And then one day when I was doing all the profiles, every year I do profiles to update the situation of each kid to the sponsor. And I thought, I'll do something really interesting. So I asked each kid, "What would you ask Buddha for if you had half an hour with him?" And the boys are saying motorbikes, cameras, cars. And the girls are saying a nice house, jewellery, a rich husband. And I got the little light. I would have been about 9 or 10 then. And he's sitting in the chair swinging his calipered legs that didn't even reach the ground. And I said, "Okay, darling, I'm telling the sponsor what you would ask Buddha for. What would you ask him for?" And he said, "Oh, Mum, Buddha's so important and he's busy. I wouldn't want to waste his time. I don't want anything. I'm fine." And I said, "Well, darling, I've got to put something on this form, so come up with something." So he looked up and he said, "Well, Mum, there is one thing." And I said, "What is it, darling?" And he said, "I must have done something really bad in my previous life for my mother to throw me away and for me to not run with the other kids. So if Buddha makes me a really good person in this life, maybe in the next life I'll have a mother who keeps me and I can run with the other boys. And these are the kids and what they've been through that give me the strength to go on. I can't stop.
I mean, if they can do that,
Yeah,
we should be able to.
that's right. And I get my strength from them. And like every day I eat, I don't have breakfast with them, it's too early, and I hate porridge. I wait for my Vegemite. But I have lunch with them and I'm in their classes walking around to see that they're all turning up and stuff. And I see them every day, all day. And on Tuesday nights we have a family meeting where all the staff and the children get together after dinner and we work out who's been naughty, who's been good, who's got to be punished, who's got to be rewarded. And it's a lovely family night. And I've seen the kids all day. And when they're all there at 7 o'clock, I walk through the door and the kids stamping their feet on the ground and banging the table and cheering like they've never seen me before.
Yeah.
And I tell you, there's a cloud of love that just almost knocks me over.
Yeah.
And it's palpable, right? You can't walk away from something like that, you know? And what the kids have given me, is far more than I've given them. My life before was foreign affairs when I was in the diplomatic corps, and then I worked with Chase Manhattan Bank. I was a hedonistic, materialistic person. I never gave to anybody, nobody. And when I've discovered the kids, the joy and the pleasure they've given back to me is, there aren't words to describe it. And if you look up hedonism in the dictionary, it says a person who seeks pleasure, which is what I did all my life. I still seek pleasure, I just get my pleasure in a different way, you know.
Well, you are an absolute inspiration, and I know that you are very humble about your...
I'm not humble, you'd never use humble.
Well, you hide your light under a bushel a little bit as to what you put back into the world, but we congratulate you, and we certainly hope that we can do all we can to assist.
Let me tell you about Sunday. I went to talk to the Cambodian community out in whatever it is here. Yeah, Paralawi. The monks know me and the community knows me. And I went there, there were 50 people there. The average age was 70. They were all pensioners, Pol Pot survivors and refugees. They'd been saving their money for 6 months. Out of 50 people, old pensioners, sick, on walkers, I got $12,500.
Wow.
Well, if that doesn't make you cry, what would?
No. Oh. Now, you're being received at Government House.
Oh, yeah, tomorrow night. Yeah, I've got a reception. I'm pretty chuffed about that because there are a lot of dodgy charities out there and people are wary about how they spend their money.
Tourism.
But, you know, at least they know if the governor has checked me out and I'm above board and they know the money's safe and I'm doing the right thing, it just gives me an air of respectability that I wouldn't otherwise enjoy.
Indeed.
Right, because I'm not a very, I'm a little bit out of the
box.
Out of the box, you know. I've done a lot of
problem
things.
child, as you described yourself.
I've been a bit of a rebel. I've done a few things that people would criticise, but I'm seen now by the governor, which is great, as someone whose charity is worth supporting. So I'm grateful for that.
Indeed.
Can I ask a question? Of all the awards and recognitions that you've received, and I think I know the answer to this one, which one means the most to you? Or has been the most?
Well, there's two.
Yeah?
One is my Australian AM, because again that gives me respectability, and the other one is I've got the highest award from the Cambodian government called the Saha Metra Medal, and that's very important to me.
That's the one I was punting for,
Yeah. So I wouldn't change my life with anybody's in the world now. And it's a gift if you wake up every morning and you love what it is you have to do. So many people get up and they've got to go to jobs just to pay the rent and the school and the car. And when I was with Chase Manhattan Bank, I was making great money and everything, but I hated the work. And I get up now, I don't know if it's a weekend or not.
Maturing, right?
Because you've got to do what you've got to do when you're a mother. You don't say to your kids Friday night, look, it's Friday night, I'll see you Monday morning.
If only.
No, so I'm there 24/7, the kids know that, and I want to be. And I couldn't live back in Australia, it's too much consumerised and driven now. Let me tell you one day in the life of Sunrise, okay? Get up 7:30, I'm about to have my Vegemite toast. The police come with 5 boys that they caught watching porn instead of being at school. So they brought them, I had to read the riot act to them. Trying to eat my Vegemite sandwich again, and the kid got bitten by a snake. And we had to rush him to the hospital, and I couldn't go because if I go, being a foreigner, the price goes up. And then on an irregular basis, I go down to the kitchen and check up on the food, but they're not cheating us. So I went down this same morning and I weighed the pork, and the receipt said 15 kilos of pork, and there was only 3 kilos of pork, so I fired the cook on the spot. Tried to go back and have my Vegemite sandwich, and then the staff called me and they said, Mum, we've got to tell you something. Now, one of the house mothers who's supposed to be sleeping with 10 girls in the dormitory at night is having an affair with the night guard, and she's sleeping down there and leaving the girls by themselves. So that's one day. That's before noon. So now,
human condition.
I get up now on any day and I say, okay, Cambodia, I'm up. What have you got to hit me? And the kids that come to us, and Utch was found in the street and brought to us by the police. He was a beggar. And when he came, he couldn't wipe the smile off his face. He had everything that was put in front of him. He did English, computers, Mandarin, music, dance, tennis, sport, boxing. He did everything that was there. And after he'd been with us a couple of months, the staff called me and they said, "Oh, we've got to tell you about Utch." And I said, "What's the problem?" And they said, "We've got to use bad language." And I said, "That's all right. What is it?" And they said, Utch came to us and he said, "I love it here. I never want to go. Who do I have to suck off so that I can stay here?"
Right, yeah.
7 years old.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry for all this bad language.
No, look,
this
it's
is life.
reality, and that's what we have to face, and that's the problem and the challenges that these kids face every day.
Now, I drive past kids in the street. I can't go and pick up a kid. I'd be kidnapped. It would be kidnapping. And you don't know if their parents have sent them out to beg or not. So I look at these kids and I think, what could you be if you were at Sunrise?
Under different circumstances.
Yeah, because, all of my kids have either been trafficked, or they're off the backs of buffaloes, or they're rice farmers. And I've got doctors, lawyers, architects, civil engineers, bankers, travel agents, hospitality, people in tourism, everything.
All because of an education.
Yeah, and they've got their own families and kids now, and they're playing their part in making Cambodia a better place.
Well, what a journey that was with Geraldine Cox AM, an extraordinary woman, and as I said right at the beginning of the show, there are some people on earth that walk the earth as angels and make a difference in other people's lives. Join Henry and myself again in the next episode of Tales of a City. Every great city has its tales, and I've been documenting their stories and people for over 20 years. This is Tales of a City.